nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Football.
All right, Vikings Vent Line. Happy Labor Day weekend to you and yours. We are just a week away or so. Yeah, a week away from Vikings football against the Green Bay Packers. We've been wrapping up these Vent Line editions. I'm very excited to talk to my guy Ryan and Nick here in just a little bit to talk about some season expectations for the Minnesota Vikings. Training camp is wrapped up. Player cuts for now have been done. Free agency, the draft, all that off-season stuff is finally over with. We're that much closer to the real damn thing to getting to Vikings football, so we're about a week away from that. Can't wait for Kevin O'Connell to welcome the Green Bay Packers at home at US Bank Stadium. It's going to be an absolute blast. Of course, this is Vikings Vent Line, the off-season edition, our last one. I know. Pour one out for the off-season edition of Vikings Vent Line because the real dang thing will start here in about 7 days or so. If you want to get in on the real edition of Vikings Vent Line, shoot me an email. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Mackie, Judd, and myself will be ready to rock the moment the Vikings game ends against the Green Bay Packers, probably around hopefully 6:37 p.m. Central on September 11th. It's a 3:30 kickoff, so we'll be ready to rock right here on this YouTube channel. So if you have not done so already, hit the subscribe button for daily Minnesota Vikings entertainment. We're really excited to talk to some regular fans we've had on the show before, some new fans. So if this is new to you, welcome. This is Purple Daily, where we want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die. And Vikings Vent Line is our flagship show. It's one of the most fun times we have all season. We've been doing it for the last few years, and we're really excited to kick off another season of Vikings Vent Line. Of course, Purple Daily is sponsored by our friends at Surly Brewing Company. Enjoy a Surly, enjoy a Furious, enjoy a Logic Bomb, enjoy any of the great products that Surly has to offer. You're in the Twin Cities, go check out their patio. It's a great Surly brew hall. Shout out to Surly Brewing for helping power Purple Daily and Vikings Vent Line. And of course, TCL. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL televisions. With the football season around the corner, you may as well go upgrade your TV, right? Go get yourself a TCL TV. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL. All right, Vikings Vent Line rolls on here. Let's get our guys Ryan and Nick involved. Boys, what's going on? Welcome to Vikings Vent Line.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Ryan, you've been on before, right?
Yeah, for Write That Down and Vikings Vent Line.
Okay, nice. So you're a regular. Nick, is this the first time for you on Vikings Vent Line?
This is the first time I've been a part of the show.
Nice, man. How long you been listening to Purple Daily?
I've stumbled across it when I was first stationed out in Colorado a long time ago. So I've been just following since then.
Nice, dude. And Ryan, you've been a miserable Vikings fan your whole life, just like the rest of us, correct?
Yes, I have. Been a long haul.
I shouldn't say miserable. Misery. The misery of being a Vikings fan, right? It's not miserable. It's just misery that's involved, as they always seem to rip your heart out. Fellas, let's talk a little bit season expectations for the Vikings. I'm curious now that everything is set in stone, right? We have a roster. We've had a draft. We've had trades. We've had signings. We've had new coaches implementing new systems. I'm curious what excites you the most about the 2022 Vikings. Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. I think, it's been 12 years since we've had an offensive-minded head coach. We went from Frazier, defensive-minded, into Zimmer, and I'm excited to see this offense cook and see what it can do. We were pretty spoiled back in the 90s and 2000s, even though those guys weren't real great offensive minds after Denny Green. But we always had something exciting to see on the field every week, all the way up until 2012, was it 2013? So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that because usually the pendulum in like the NFL, when a new coach comes in, it always swings from offense to defense and defense to offense. And from Frazier to Zimmer, it stayed defense for the most part, right? Frazier being a longtime defensive coordinator, still a successful defensive coordinator. And then they still wanted to keep that frame of the ball under Mike Zimmer. And that worked for a little bit, but then it eroded. Times change in the league too. Everything's always changing. And now they finally do have an offensive-minded coach. Yeah, and people had some questions about Brad Childress and how he was as a head coach, but the dude definitely knew play calling and definitely knew some scheming and definitely still leaned into all of that. And of course, Denny Green being the legend that he was, kind of opening up a new era of Vikings football with Randy Moss and Dante, et cetera. So it is nice to see Kevin O'Connell finally have that, right? We don't got to watch second and 10 long runs like what they've been doing all the last few years. You'll hopefully get to see this Vikings offense aired out a little bit with Kirk Cousins under Kevin O'Connell.
You even forgot Ticey in there too.
That's right. I should put some respect on Mike Tyson's name. I do remember him too. That's right. Nick, how about you, man? What are you most excited for the 2022 Vikings?
Well, the biggest thing is the revamped offense. There's a lot of upside on that that we haven't been able to, even though we haven't been able to see our first stringers yet. Just the energy that that offense brings, but more importantly, just the interviews of the players and the coaches. It's not a forced interview saying, yeah, we're doing good. It's literally, there's a new energy that's a natural energy in that building from what you can see from just the natural courses of interviews with players and coaches. So it's a lot different from years past where a lot of those interviews felt forced.
Yeah, there's just an organic feel, right, with Kevin O'Connell and his coaching staff, and it's not the tight knit, not in the good way tight knit where it's really chemistry's flying off the face. It's just more of a tight knit, like everyone's kind of walking around on eggshells, like they were kind of by the end of the Zimmer era. It's what people were saying, and with O'Connell, who by the way I'm sure still is like a hard nosed football coach, right? When it's football time. Kind of might not be the most fun guy to be around, but just a different vibe, a different voice. You know, if you've been in any walk of life of any type of your job, right, and you have a boss who's very uptight, and then you get someone else who still has to be the boss, but is a different style with how he likes to do his business and conduct his business, makes your work life a lot easier. I just think now that we get to see this unfold in week one, that's what I'm just most curious for, right? Like we've been talking about all offseason, they got the offensive-minded coach. How ready is Kevin O'Connell to be that head coach? And there still probably will be some growing pains involved, obviously early on in this season, most likely, but it's probably about the long haul here. It's about us turning a corner into an offensive-minded system that the NFL has been tracking towards for the last few years, and the Vikings just feel behind the times, you know? And with the playmakers that they've had at the fold here, you would like to think that with guys like Jefferson and Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne taking the next step, that this offense should be a top 10 offense, and for whatever reason, it just felt very vanilla. It felt like it wasn't cracking its ceiling that it should over the last few years, and now you have a Kevin O'Connell, a tutelage of Sean McVay, and I'm excited to watch it happen, man. It's going to be a blast with this offense. There's a lot of different options. The reason I ask you guys this question about the rookie class is there's a lot of different options. I think it's always easy when you see your first round pick that, well, that guy is the first round pick. He's most likely going to be the one that makes the biggest impact on the Vikings right away. But Lewis Cine, that is, probably isn't going to be a starter. Now, he's still going to get on the field for sure, but he's not going to be a starter. We saw the first depth charts that have come out. He most likely won't be starting. Cam Bynum, Harrison Smith, two very good safeties, two in front of him will get those starts. But there are a lot of different rookies, I think, that will contribute to this Vikings team. Ed Ingram being really the only starter, but there's plenty of options that can make an impact. So, Ryan, I'm curious, which Vikings rookie do you think will end up being, the quote-unquote rookie of the year for the Vikings in 2022?
Well, I got a name right here, Vikings Rookie of the Year award.
Okay.
It's
got a little envelope.
I got a little envelope. I'm gonna open her up, and this is who I wrote down last night.
This is like an Oscar. I love this.
Yeah, for sure. Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Edward Ingram. There you go.
The offensive guard. I tell you that the offensive line in the last, I don't know how many years, has been so bad. And that's been the one Achilles heel of the whole team. It's like I don't think there's anywhere to go but up, but I think it's going to go really high. I mean, I think Ingram is going to be able to pick up a lot of stuff that Bradbury misses, and hopefully Bradbury can figure it out. I mean, I don't know how many years he's been. 4 years? 4 years now. It's bad. I worry that he gets forklifted and drove back into the lap of Cousins way too much.
Yeah, the offensive line of Bradbury, if he is going to be who he is, which is clearly not a very viable option as a pass protector, at least at the starting center position, can you improve the interior around him, right? It's like redesigning a home. Well, we can only focus on one thing at a time here. We can't do the bathroom. We can't do the kitchen. We can't do the master bed. We got to figure out one area we can figure out to improve. That was right guard. The Vikings saw Ed Ingram there, and they were able to take him. He won the guard spot over Chris Reed as well. So that's kudos to him. And you'd like to think if he's the only starter and the Vikings have been asking for stability on that offensive line, that he can potentially mask some of those issues with Garrett Bradbury, right? I mean, Bradbury, I think, isn't going to necessarily just take this giant step forward unless we're proven absolutely wrong. It was an open competition throughout all of training camp. But if Ed Ingram makes things easier on the line, makes Bradbury's life easier, well, then hopefully then it makes life a lot easier for Kirk Cousins too. So I like the pick. Ed Ingram, Rookie of the Year. I dig it. Nick, how about you, man? What Vikings rookie do you think could win Rookie of the Year this year?
So this one's a little bit harder for me, in a good way though, because our starting offense and our starting defense have a lot more veterans than we do rookies thrown into the fire, which I do like. I like to have the veteran presence, but a go against him is I just don't think Ed Ingram is going to win it, just because offensive guards just don't get the love they need. It's a under, it's the only time you show up on a stat sheet is how many times you forced a pressure or how many times you got sacked on, how many times you're on your back. And it's unfortunate because we need that, and we've been longing for that for many, many years in Minnesota. In my eyes, I believe Booth or Lewis Seen, if they make the most of their ability on the field when they get their chances, they'll be able to break into the starting lineup and then win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And will it be Rookie of the Year of the whole league? It'll be Defensive Player of the Year. So I just don't think our offense has enough rookies on it to, even if Ty Chandler gets in there, he has two studs ahead of him with Madison and Cook. But our Rookie of the Year will come from our defensive side of the ball with either Booth or Seen.
Okay, I like that one. Yeah, it's easier too, right, for someone like a safety or a corner to make a big of an impact than a guard. Like, a guard's not a sexy position, right? They're going to be out there to try to make things easier for the line itself, where Lewis Seen and Andrew Booth, fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, have the opportunity to make touchdown plays, to make interceptions, to make highlight reel plays, right? They can be the ones that do that. I think Lewis Seen figuring out ways to use him and utilize him in the defense is going to be so interesting under Ed Donatel, right? Because if Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum are the safeties, that's fine. But are there packages too where there's three of them on the field, right? Does Lewis Seen join those other two safeties on the field? He lined up at slot corner a few times for Georgia last year. He kind of lined up as a strong side linebacker, for God's sake. So he's almost like this Swiss Army knife that could be deployed in so many different unique ways. And there's probably no better option for him than to sit behind someone like Harrison Smith, who was a starter right away when he was a rookie out of Notre Dame, but was someone who can do a little bit of everything, right? Like, he can drop in pass coverage and protect the defense. He has the ability to blitz and get after the quarterback. He hits pretty damn hard. He can force some fumbles. He's gotten interceptions. And it kind of feels like Lewis Seen is stepping into the role that Harrison Smith has had for the last 10 years, which is a Ring of Honor kind of guy, borderline NFL Hall of Famer, but definitely a Vikings Ring of Honor type of dude. So I love that, yeah, Ed Ingram is the starter, and that he's probably going to be the one that makes the biggest impact right away because he's actually starting. But Nick, you bring up a good point that Andrew Booth, Lewis Seen are going to be two guys that have more opportunities to make highlight reel plays, the ones that we're probably going to be watching a little bit more. That cornerback room is pretty thin, right? So, like, if it's definitely on someone like Andrew Booth to take the next step forward, because after Cam Dantzler and Patrick Peterson, I mean, there's just major question marks there. And there could be, some growing pains probably too with Andrew Booth. No rookie corner really steps in and is just like locking it down right away. But I love both those picks. I love Ed Ingram, Andrew Booth. I mean, Caleb Evans looks like he's going to be a great player. Brian Asamoah.
That's who I'm looking forward to.
Is probably going to factor in. I'm curious in your guys' thoughts too, just on the defense as a whole. So Ryan, like they obviously retooled everything under Ed Donatel. They're hoping that Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith can get after the quarterback. Do you think that this defense can maybe track towards being a more competent defense previously over the last 2 years?
I think pressure-wise, yeah, because but really the caveat is that Danielle and Zadarius have to stay healthy. If either of them misses any time, it's going to be really tough to take up that production and make them make it, I guess. I mean, make them get the pressure that they need, especially in a 3-4 defense. The quarterbacks can only cover for so long.
Mm-hmm. It seems like they're putting all their eggs in the basket of those two guys as like, hey, like it or not, the pressure, pun intended, is on you two to make the most of your opportunities, right? Because like if they're not getting after the quarterback, if they're delayed at doing it, or they're just not up to par, they're missing time, which is what happened to them over the last 2 seasons. It could be pretty damn rough, right? Like that Vikings defense could be bad again. Nick, what about you, man? What do you think about the Vikings defense next season?
So I'm on board 100%. I do like that we have an additional pass rusher, but in a sense, we have 2 because we're using Daniil in different ways last time with Everson Griffin. We moved him around a little bit, and then I don't remember the Saints game. We put them both in the middle instead of the outside. It worked. Hunter can move anywhere, and Zadarius, he's a freak of nature as well. When you get those 2 back there, and everybody forgets now, we still have Kendrick. He's, in my eyes, one of the best coverage linebackers, sideline to sideline. He makes amazing grabs like a cornerback. He can do some stuff back there if we need him to, as far as coverage in the flats. But it's gonna be interesting to see those 2 go full speed at every quarterback, and I'm loving that. Game 1's against Green Bay. It's gonna set the tone for our defense right away.
Yeah, it's kind of nice they're playing like I love that they get their divisional foe right away. I think some people were like, "Oh, I like the build up towards it," and I kind of get that. But hell no, let's start the season with a great with your biggest rival in town and with a great win to set the tone for the rest of the year, right? And I love that, especially if they can shut up Aaron Rodgers in week 1. Vikings fans will be on cloud 9. So I think it's a great tone to set the season right away with the Packers at US Bank. It's going to be a blast. Vikings Vent Line will be rolling right after the game here. Judd will be at the stadium. We can't wait for it. It's going to be an absolute blast. Boys, do you think the Vikings can win the North? So the Packers are obviously the favorites still, but I do think that gap is closing. With all due respect to any Detroit Lions or Chicago Bear fan that is watching this right now, I don't really think they have any shot in hell of winning this division. But I do think the Vikings are closing that gap and could potentially surprise and win that NFC North. Ryan, do you think the Vikings can win the NFC North in 2022?
My heart wants to say yes, but my mind says no. You got Aaron Rodgers over there in Green Bay country that, he's lacking wide receivers, but man, he's made quite a few wide receivers in the past. I mean, like a Randall Cobb, you make an argument, Devontae Adams, like whoever gets in there is lucky to catch passes from him because he's just that good, and he's got to stay healthy, obviously, too, in order for them to overtake us. But like I said, my mind says probably not. And then also you got to think too, we definitely have to figure out that Bradbury situation. Otherwise, we're going to be it'll be every team across the NFL will key in on that, and it's not good. We've saw it time and time again last year, saw it time and time again in the year before, and it's just not a good sight to see.
Yeah, it kind of feels like people are waiting for the Packers to come down a little bit, right? And you'd like to think the Vikings could take the next step. But even though with the Rodgers not having the wide receivers he has, Rodgers is still such a damn good quarterback, right? And you kind of got to wait to see if the erosion happens in person before guessing, before the games happen. But there are some question marks to your point on this Vikings team still. Is the starting center capable? Do they have enough defensive back help that can bail them out a little bit more? There's still questions on the Vikings for sure. I think also the Packers do have more of a sound defense. Their defense is still established. So it'll be curious to see how it plays out through the season. Like we said, hopefully a win in week 1. Nick, how about you, man? Do you think the Vikings can win the North in 2022?
Well, I say it every year, 100%. We have one of the strongest divisions, but we also have one of the most inconsistent divisions outside of the Packers. The Lions are going to do Lions things. I don't know how they do it, but they're always miserable since the 90s. The Bears are even more inconsistent than us. And as long as Justin Fields is their quarterback, I don't perceive them as a threat. Did we always drop one game to them? Unfortunately, yes. It's one of those things that is just we do. It's a Vikingism. Like for some reason we drop one game to them just because it's the Bears. But then we go on with the Packers. And the Packers have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the Tom Brady of the North. He can make any receiver look good, even if they're not good. I mean, he does it time and time again. You have a no-name guy that gets drafted. All of a sudden, he's in the Pro Bowl. Like, who is this guy? Where'd he come from? So it's one of those things. But right now, he has no one. I mean, he has the ghost of Sammy Watkins and the ghost of Randall Cobb. I don't think that's going to be enough for our defense, the way we have re-schemed, to be able to keep the North in Green Bay's hands. Do I think it's going to come down to the end of the year? 100%. I think it's going to come down to the last 2 weeks of the season. It's going to be a tight race, but again, I believe that we win week 1, and we continue that momentum, and then at the end of the year, for some reason, I feel like it's going to be those last 2 games. We beat Green Bay again, we sweep them this year, but then it comes down to the Chicago game. Like, what happens on that game? So it's going to be a tough, hard sled north. I love it. We are the best division, I think, in the NFL, but it's going to be a tough one this year.
Yeah, it probably does come down to the last 2 weeks of the season for the Vikings or anyone in the North, right? Like, I don't see them just running away with it. The only way that could probably happen is if, like, Aaron Rodgers goes down early in the year and suffers another season-ending injury. But I do think the Vikings are doing a better job at closing that gap and potentially being a team that could win the North. So it's going to be fun to play out, man. I'm just excited for actual Vikings football to talk about for the first time in a long time. And now that Kevin O'Connell is here and football season's around the corner, I'm a big baseball guy, but I can only do so much baseball right here, okay? Like, give me some football Sundays. Let me wake up and watch some football. I'm excited that we're even like 3 days away from Thursday night football. Exactly. Here, I'll hit you with it. Here, let me get this up.
There we go.
There it is.
Let's go.
We're ready. We're absolutely ready. Boys, before I wrap up here on Vikings Vent Line, anyone you want to shout out or any last take you'd love to give? Ryan, I'll go to you.
Family, friends, even my Packer friends. I tell you what, they put up with me. They put up with me and my Vikings talk all year round. And I'm super thankful that they actually listen to me, because a lot of times I don't think very many people do listen to me, but they'll bring things up and they'll remind me that, hey, and also always I got to thank my dad, because he's the one that got me started on the Vikings. So, and I always appreciate my dad.
All right, I love it. Family affair too in Vikings Vent Line. So appreciate moms and dads that have made us these Vikings fans. Nick, how about you, man? Any last take or anyone you want to shout out before we wrap up?
Oh, I mean, I definitely got to shout out to, my son DJ's still out in Colorado. I'm here in Iowa now, stationed. Family and friends in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Me and my dad, we go pretty hard during the football year. We call each other before the game, halftime, at the end of the game. We have our own vent line to each other. So, it's definitely the family and friends that make the football season special. And, thank God hockey ran a little bit longer this year, so I had less sports at the dead end, but definitely families and friends. It's a great time. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming on Vikings Vent Line. Come on during the regular season. Like I said, I'm kind of verklempt. This is the last offseason one. I've been doing this for like the last 6 months, talking to Vikings fans kind of all over the country and all over the world too. So we're ready for the real damn thing to happen here in just about a week. So can't wait, guys. Ryan, Nick, thank you so much for coming on Vikings Vent Line.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
Sir. You guys have a great weekend.
Cool, guys.
Thank you. You too. Hit the subscribe button. Daily Minnesota Vikings Entertainment. This has been Vikings Vent Line.